Klamath Falls. I'm Kristy Gerlett, and I'm here in town in Klamath County.
What's up, Klamath Falls? I'm Mike.
And what's up? This is Dave.
So, if you hadn't noticed yet, we have a special guest.
Cheers, guys.
Welcome to Klamath County.
Thank you.
I'm sure we're happy to see you.
Ooh. I have the drink and the water, just so
Right?
my lawyers are,
Put them in the same glass, and, throw you off a little bit.
Yeah.
No, all the way from Ohio. So thank you
Yeah.
for coming out and being on the show. Thank you for being a part of the show for as long as you have. Your story struck a chord with me the very first time I heard about it. That's why we've been covering it ever since.
Yeah.
And first time we've talked on the phone, I don't know, hundreds of times.
So
I
many
think.
times.
But
many times.
it's so great to meet you in person
Yes.
and actually have you here in town.
Yeah.
And
your studio is amazing.
Thank
I love
you.
it. I love
Thank
it.
you.
It's very cool.
It's casual, but it's the best we can do.
Comfortable.
So,
Ooh, that even that one sip.
little too strong.
No, I'm just not a big drinker.
Oh, well, you will be by the time you do. And with all you've gone through, I'm surprised you're not. So
Right?
kudos to
That's
you.
true. Very true.
So you had reasons for coming to Klamath Falls from.
I did.
Uh,
And then more stuff happened. So now I'm staying a little bit longer.
good.
I'm sure people are happy about that.
I don't know if it's good.
Are you trying to get rid of her already?
No,
I'm
Who's
sure
cheering you
some
on,
people
Dave?
are,
it's unfortunate that more stuff is happening, because if she's
Well.
staying, it's probably not good stuff.
True that. I'll give you that.
I've had a lot of meetings so far, and
Yeah, I was gonna start off.
stuff unfolded.
Seemed like maybe one of the biggies you met with the DA. Right.
I did. I went to the district attorney's office. I think it was maybe even 3 days in a row. And, I didn't really know exactly what to expect, because there's always, I think about my family in the district attorney's office as like a slow burn, right? It just inevitably just went south. And then I would say like a week or two ago, it got pretty intense. But I was there to look at some stuff regarding my mom's criminal case, and I met with the victim's advocate. So she was very professional and nice. And the first day I kind of was just there doing what I needed to do. And then the next day, her and I had a conversation, and I appreciated that. It was probably over an hour, and I think people are well aware of how I felt, not just about the district attorney's office, but other things involved in it. And we had a really good conversation. And then the next day, I was told that DA Scott would meet with me for about 30 minutes, and that conversation lasted at least around 3 hours, maybe even.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
As well it should.
Yeah. So, it was obviously kind of a little, you could feel the tension a little bit when there was other people there. And, but then we just started talking. I hadn't met some people that were there before, and I hadn't been in the same room with him since April of 24. Which is the only time that I've seen him in person. And all of the communication was, in email. And I understand a part of that, but you learn so much more and can connect with people so much more when you are face to face, and, body language and tones of voices, and just let the conversation flow naturally. And there was a lot of things that were on my heart,
Right.
and things that I wanted to discuss. And I really appreciated that he stayed as long as he did. And I really walked away, as you saw on my post. I just felt in a good place and felt very confident. I've always been confident about my mother's case, but it just totally.
But with the way things have been handled locally, I could understand why there would be some question in your mind, even though you might be confident about how things should be handled.
Hmm.
versus how they had been handled.
Yeah, I mean, the Caber administration has had a lot of issues before my mother's case was even came to fruition in this county, right?
That
And
comes as a shock to no one.
and obviously there was a former, think it was, I don't know his rank, but he sued, and there was just a $1 million settlement, right? And you're not writing a $1 million check if there's no validity to what is being alleged. So I didn't know all of the, history there, but my issue was definitely with the sheriff's department, and the district attorney's office was kind of in the middle of that for some time, and now there's a new administration, and I think I've seen the comments online, and people have had hope that the new administration would be different than the Caber administration, and I can tell you that I've personally seen the difference. It's like night and day to me, actually.
Good, good. I know Shane Mitchell, the new sheriff, had a lot going on at an unfortunate timing because of a incident that occurred before he actually
Yeah.
took office, and that absorbed, I think, a lot of his personal time as far as dealing with his new position. And now that that's behind him, I think that's going to help a lot.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with him at the end of last year, and then there was that situation that occurred, and so I have been in very open and good communication with the now under sheriff, Mike Smith, and phone calls in person. It is just a huge difference, and he said a word to me that I had never heard from the sheriff's office, or frankly anybody really in charge here, and that was accountability.
Yeah.
That was accountability. I told him I'm not going to hold this new administration responsible for what the previous administration did, but it's their case now, right? And so
Right.
they're gonna handle it, and they already have started to handle it differently. Mainly just having the communication. I mean, the detective is still the detective, and Sergeant Ryan Caber is still supervising, but I feel very comfortable, and I had, I believe it was two in person meetings with the undersheriff, and then one of those meetings was with the detective.
Okay.
And I said how I felt, and he kind of said how he felt, and it is going to be what it is. But I feel comfortable with the new undersheriff.
So when you said a meeting with the detective, was that Ryan?
No,
No,
it was
okay.
Chad Golden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I would never be in a room with him.
I don't blame you. I was kind of.
He doesn't. He's not going to
make
get grace
sure.
with my presence.
Yeah.
He
well,
can.
That's
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of layers
Yeah.
to what's gone on. There's financial crimes with the credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
There's the stolen horse trailer. There's a lot of underlying things that have gone on, and so it seems like you're starting to feel a sense of traction, maybe. Yeah, that's a good word, of where that's all headed. I don't know if
Well,
that's something you can respond
No,
to
no, no,
right
it's
now.
okay. I mean, the horse trailer thing obviously upset me because no one from the sheriff's department called me and let me know that day
Yeah.
anything about it. I found out from other people, and first of all, it's wrong, inappropriate, and just petty.
Yeah.
Right? Just completely petty. The financial crimes. Listen, I could list off my mother's accounts right now. I personally wanted to know where the money went, who spent it, and I've worked a lot on my mom's case. I would say the financial crimes is what I did the deep dive on the most about, and so I think that we will be. I'm hoping that we will be seeing charges around all of that stuff soon.
Good. There's a lot of us that are hoping to see that. Honestly, I mean, your story is just kind of taken over this to some degree. You know, there's a lot of local folks that are really interested because it affects all of us. You know, we live here, and so it goes beyond. And I don't mean any disrespect in this whatsoever, but your mom's case has shined a light on something that's been an issue for a long time in Klamath County.
I agree.
So
I agree. Yeah.
Well, it's not just about doing the right thing. It's about you being the victim. You could have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed and whatever, but if something happens to you, like it did to Kristy, that's the point of uneasiness
right.
because you don't have nothing to go on at that point. I mean,
Yeah, I definitely feel like even where we are right now with just the fake will and the 13 felonies there, uh, I don't think that would have happened if I didn't go to higher ups. And that you shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to trust in your local law enforcement. I think initially there was, mistakes, I think laziness, and then it became personal to the former administration. And so people, listen, if a sheriff deputy is coming to you or receiving a call from you, you're probably in a crisis, right?
Right.
And they deal with many a day. And the former administration was just absolutely horrid. And I think many people can echo that sentiment.
Oh, there's a lot. I've got emails from folks that can relate to what you've gone through that are here local.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's something I'm working on, but we'll work on that later on.
Yeah.
So the next bullet point I've got here then would be the storage auction. So there was some alleged materials that may or may not have belonged to your mom that were in an auction recently.
Yeah, so that is one of the reasons I have had to extend my trip. Early on, we knew that Christine Pereira, who is obviously charged, one of the defendants in my mom's case, and I knew she had a storage unit. I didn't know where, and I was worried that there's so much stuff that had gone missing, and still there's not an accounting from the estate sale stuff, right? And so I went to the former administration and was like, there's a storage unit, like, is there any way you could look into it? And they were like, no, we would need probable cause. And this again was,
So 13 felony counts of theft against your mom's estate wasn't enough probably.
well, this was last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
All
this
right.
was really early on. And then I found out, listen, residents here have been very helpful to me. And again, I think it's just that commonality of people don't like kind of how things have been going. And so I found out that Christine Pereira's storage unit was going to auction. And that was Tuesday, and I believe it was 1:30. So this is it had to be published, right, in the local newspaper. And the reason that is, it's a part of statute that, up until that moment, she could have paid her fees or whatever, and they wouldn't have auctioned it off, right?
Right.
And so when we found out about that, it was really important that we at least somebody come here and see if there's any of our family stuff in that storage unit. And we weren't really sure. We hadn't decided yet if we were going to buy it or not. We had a dollar amount in mind, but really we wanted to see if there was any of our stolen missing property. And on my drive there, I received a call from one of the people working with the estate, and they were like, the unit was already sold. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, it's the auction's at 1:30, and it was sold
Days prior. Huh?
I'm gonna leave that up to what people want to say about it. But bottom line, it was already sold. So when I got there, I clearly was shaken and upset because this was a big portion of me coming out here. And I got lucky. It just so happened that the person who purchased her storage unit was there at the moment. And, we reached to him and went to him. And told him the situation, and he said, I just wanted to look inside and see if there was anything that I could see just visually or anything like this. And as soon as he, when I walked on, I think the door had been opened, and then I was there with a friend, and we started to. I just was starting to point stuff out, like
Yeah.
this, and I offered to buy the unit, so he purchased it for $500, and I was like, I'll give you $1,000 right now. He said no, and then we were up to $1,500, and that kind of fell into the works because by that time I had seen items that obviously belonged to the estate. I called the sheriff's department, and then there was a deputy that arrived and a detective, the detective on the case, and it was. I cried that night in a way that I hadn't before because a deputy looked me straight in the eyes and said, "That's his property now." And I go, "Well, first of all, the sale should never even have happened. And I am telling you," and it was just, it was a difficult moment. And I immediately reached out again with the sheriff's office, and they said, okay, we'll go in there and we'll take some photos of like the top of certain boxes and send those to you, and then you can identify if you see anything. And in one of those photos, I was able to identify several items from the estate sale, and that was huge for me and my family because we had never located anything other than the little amount that had been left on the ranch. And of course we had pictures and, could tie everything together. And I saw one of my grandparents' old bookends. It was just sitting right there, in the box. And I was like, I offered to buy the stuff back. I just want my family stuff back, right? And the last that I had heard was that he wasn't going to sell the unit to her or to me. And I said, I just want the ability to be able to go through that unit and see if there's anything else. I don't mind purchasing something back, but I have not heard anything from him. And he owns a store here in town. And the idea of all that my family has gone through, right? And so many people just wanting to fill their pockets at the expense not just of my mother's death, but the crimes associated with it. The idea of stolen property from my family being sold at a local store in Klamath County is fucking disgusting.
So, if you're following along, there was a date and a time scheduled for this sale. Days prior to that, it was already sold to somebody who now refuses, even at a profit, to sell it back. And now he's threatening to just sell it through his store. And I'm going to refrain for now, but I know who he is. And I have his store name. And I am going to light you up like the 4th of July if you proceed with that. That's just my prerogative. This is my show, our show. And I will make you famous in Klamath Falls if you don't do the right thing.
I don't even know why I'm
I
going to.
don't know if that's the right thing to say or not.
Yeah.
That is nothing that you guided me to. That is my own prerogative because you have been through so much garbage. And for one person to know this is your family's history, that's how I look at it. And for one person to be like, to not give a shit for his own profit or his own greed or whatever,
He could have doubled his profit.
he could have done the right
could have
thing
tripled
and
it.
walked away. And
Yeah.
instead chose not to. Rethink that.
And now he knows, right? Like when he bought the unit, he didn't know who she was, the charges, the case,
Right.
or the stolen property. But he definitely does now, and he did that day, and he's still. I'm telling you, Mike. When I saw that storage unit get shut and locked, knowing my family's stuff was in there, and no one gave a shit. KCSO, the two people there didn't care, and clearly the people who bought the unit didn't care. And that's something I think that's the theme in my. Do you want me to stop?
No,
Oh.
keep on going.
That's something that is a theme in my mother's case. The same reason that this all started, right? It's all about the money. It's all about the money. No one cares about the emotional impact of it. So there were a few items that the sheriff's department confiscated. Haven't given it back to the family, but they did take a few things back. And I have said repeatedly, I just want the opportunity to go through the unit, and be able to identify and the other thing, Mike, is when I say that so many residents have helped my family. I mean, so many. And so to think that somebody would know this situation, the breadth of this situation, and still not say, and still not come and do the right thing. I mean, I offered to double, I offered to triple, I offered to buy things individually. The truth is I shouldn't even have to do that, right? It was
Right.
stolen. It was stolen from the property.
Right.
So, I mean, I think people just kind of think short term, but it was very shocking because obviously there's been issues with the administration and people in power in this county, but residents have been extremely helpful. And we know that both from, your show and, the other media coverage and people's messages to me and comments to me on Facebook. So it was pretty, it's just disgusting.
And I've had folks since we started covering this that reach out to me that knew your mom, and are very sympathetic to the situation. And like I said in the beginning, every time we cover this story, we get a ton of more hits than we typically get. And that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because justice needs to be served. And the injustice that just...
You can't make this crap up.
No.
You can't.
No, the injustice
I
that
know the
continues
storage
to-
unit. Just when you think, right, I'm like, oh, it can't get worse. Oh, it can't get worse. Oh, but it can.
Well, and that
Let's
is
involve the local store with the stolen property and the unit and KCSO doing it. Just
I stand by my word. I will make that store famous, and not in a good way. Because it's stolen property that you're selling.
well, and just the morality lack of compass of that dude.
Right.
Hey,
Right?
I know that saddle, and I know that, and I know this and that. Hey, fuck you, it's mine.
Yeah.
it's not. I'm laughing because it's so horrible, but it was
and I'm
really
sorry
bad.
to
Like
make
it
light
was.
of
It was
That's
bad.
what I do, but that is the last straw that you're trying to memories and whatever you're trying to pull after you've lost dang near everything. That is the no
last
disrespect.
slap in the
That's the
face.
little stuff that you just want, and
Yeah.
it's there. Oh nope, sorry.
I had a friend explain it. They were like, it's an iceberg, and you're just fighting for the top of it, right? Like that. I'm fighting for the scraps here, and money's a powerful motivator, and for some people, their morals go out the window for it.
Well, some people have no morals to begin with.
Yeah.
So,
Fair.
sadly.
I think this whole story is based on lack of morals.
Yeah, I mean, so
From the very beginning,
we
right?
start off on a positive note. You had a good meeting with the DA, and you had a good meeting with the sheriff's office and all that.
I did.
So 2 steps forward, but then storage unit, another step back. And it seems
Yeah.
like that has been the course of your battle from day one. Maybe not even. Sometimes it's 2 steps back and maybe a step forward, but in general, it seems like the tide's starting to turn somewhat, where
Well, how the
communications have improved, if nothing else.
Yeah, I was going to say how the Mitchell administration handles this situation with the storage unit's going to be very telling, right?
Right.
And so my family is just kind of waiting to see what they're going to do.
Okay. Speaking of administrations, so the next note I've got here that we had talked about a little bit,
Yeah.
you have gotten a hold of some emails, it seems. And I can't wait to hear about this. And yeah, I'll just leave it be and I'll let you take it from there. But
No, no. Yeah, you're referring to I think I need a sip of alcohol for this.
if you're watching and you don't drink, take a sip anyway.
It's strong.
You're going to want to hear
What did
this.
you put in it besides the...
Ginger ale. Don't feel obligated. Just you don't have to drink it all.
No. I'm just sipping with the water.
Just thought maybe you could use a good drink after the 2 years that you've had. I don't even want to narrow it down to the week that you've had. I want to.
Yeah. So like I said, there was always some issues, but I really, really felt in my heart that there was a huge shift when Sergeant Ryan Caber came back to work. And obviously there's an interesting dynamic there, right, with his dad being the sheriff at the time, and in theory between them would be a lieutenant. But I knew what was being said to the DOJ. I knew what was being said to OSP. I knew what was being said to the DA's office, and I knew what was being said publicly, and then what was being said to me. And the stuff just didn't line up. It didn't match up. And so I wanted to see those kind of internal communications with where the investigation truly was at versus how they were representing it to be to several people. And I, put in a request, and it was eventually approved. I think that there's a common denominator here now. There's a new board of commission, right? Or there's a new commissioner, Andy Nichols, and there's obviously a new sheriff and a new undersheriff. And so you're dealing with different dynamics that I think encourage transparency, encourage accountability, and just want this county to be seen in a much better light, because right now it's not that great, right?
No. Including for those of us that live here, it's the perception. There are some good people. Andy's been on the show twice, great
I didn't
guy.
know that.
Yeah. And we've had other, I've had interactions. I know the county commissioners, and I think there are some good people there, but I don't understand how things have gotten to this point.
Well, I actually have a strong opinion about the BOC, because right now the board is Kelly Minty, DeGroot, and Nichols, and before it was Hensley, who was the former police chief. I have talked to each and every one of them individually. Every time I called, they answered or returned. Every time they told me they were going to do something, they did it. And they were the first people in authority that really made a statement or even acknowledged my mother's case. And it was, I'm sorry you're having this experience, with Klamath County, and, we hope for justice for you and your family. And obviously there's stuff behind the scenes. They're actually very limited. They don't have authority over the sheriff's office, and they don't have authority over the district attorney's office. But I do know that they have advocated for I rooms that I'm not in. And I just, sorry. I wasn't really a fan of politicians before this case. I don't think many people are, but I just really appreciate the BOC, and I really appreciate the new administration at the sheriff's office, because I've been through fucking hell, and I deserve to be communicated with, and I deserve to be a part of the conversation, and I think there needs to be accountability.
And I think I agree 100%, by the way. I think we got a little off track, though, because the emails were pretty
Oh yeah,
encouraging.
sorry about that.
No,
You're
no, no, no,
yeah,
no.
no.
But the emails themselves, once you were able to see some
Yeah,
of those,
yeah,
and they weren't great news for Ryan.
yeah. So I just released one, just one. I mean, anybody can get them, right? You can just request. But I was reading through them and just got more and more and more disgusted.
So he was just, it seems, lying to cover for himself.
I would say, I'll say it like this. I'll frame it like this, because I actually said this in one of the meetings, and I believe it to be true, and I will never change my belief on that. There is a difference between motivation and intention, right? You guys, people can have different motivations, but if their intention is the same, that's what's important, right? So the district, David Scott, his motivation might be, it might be justice. It might be he wants to win this case, right? But the intention is we want a thorough investigation. We want to prosecute it successfully. My motivation would be justice for my family, right? The intention is the same, a thorough investigation and a successful prosecution. There is no doubt at all to me that the Caber administration did not have that same intention. Because if they did, if they really wanted that thorough investigation and have a solid, this is going to be prosecutable not all this time later, because we're over 2 years now, they would have asked for assistance. They would have given it up when they had the opportunity to, and they never did. So this idea that we're holding on to it and then it's in a good place, right? We know that was said.
Yep.
And yet when you look at other things, you realize that there hadn't been progress in certain arenas. So it makes me ask myself one question. Why did the Caber administration not want to release this case?
I think you're talking about motivation. I think their motivation was 3 letters, CYA. Because they were offered help from the DOJ, they were offered help from the OSP, and they turned it down and said the case is in a good place. Well over a year ago now?
That was in the summer of 24.
Okay, so about going on a year ago.
Well, I'm probably the dumbest guy in the room, and definitely not on law enforcement and all that. Once you pass state lines, it is not even Oregon State's responsibility to go after Reno or Arizona.
Chicago, yeah.
Anywhere you pass state line, you have to say, "Hey, Bob, FBI guy,
You know, I called.
That's the point.
You know, I called the FBI. I did. I called the FBI. I called.
But they were all laid off, right? Sorry.
I made a lot of calls, guys. I made a lot of calls, but this case was. It is big. It's complicated. It's not just the fake will. It's the stolen property. It's the financial crimes, and that consists of credit cards, online shopping, in-person shopping, a forged check. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and it's a lot. And there's literally one detective at the sheriff's office that is looking into it, and Ryan Caber supervises him.
Well, my favorite thing that Mike brought up, it's like the Dukes of Hazzard. It's like Cletus and
Boss Hog and
Boss Hog and
kids holding their dad's hat on while they're driving around. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, he ran for sheriff. I mean, right? Remember
so
that?
glad that did. Yeah, and I don't even hold back anymore. There's no respect for the Caber family left in Klamath County, in my opinion.
Well, I never met Chris Caber. I never spoke to him on the phone. I have had more conversations with this new administration in how many months is it?
Two?
Two? Than I did the entire time
Right.
with the former sheriff. You know, the situation with Ryan Caber. I mean, I had conversations with him. I would say it was pretty decent, and at times I even okay. Like there were some times where I felt like this was okay, and then it just continued to go in a bad direction, and the emails that I have are just very telling. And I think what the public, because that there's talk about a lot of views, right? And a lot of comments and messages. I think when people see that and they're like, but this was a victim. You're talking about a victim.
That's been treated like a perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that just it pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the point, I don't know, a couple of shows ago, but if you're the perpetrator, all your costs are covered. You got a free attorney and
Yeah.
private investigators and all this kind of BS. But if you're the victim, the onus is on, if local law enforcement is not doing their job, then the onus is on you as the individual to spend all of your money on investigating and pursuing this. I mean, you've left your job over this. You have spent, I can't even imagine. We have never discussed, and it's
A
not my
lot of
business,
zeros.
a lot of money because nobody here was doing their damn job.
Yeah.
Bottom line, that's what it comes down to. Nobody here was doing their job. I'm optimistic again that things are changing.
Well, and luckily, not luckily for you, you kind of knew from your journalistic background
Yeah.
who to contact.
I
But
did.
Joe Schmo here would just sit back and go,
What do I do?
What the fuck do I do? Yeah, but
And the other part of that is not everybody has the resources to be able to keep this fight going. A lot of people would have just been, well, I'm screwed and it's over with and suck it up. Not because of anything they did wrong, but because the people that are supposed to protect them weren't doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to you. I mean, I know several strong-willed people, and you're at the you and my wife are right at the top of that list.
Yeah, I know.
You sink your
thank
teeth
you.
in and you don't let go. And thank you, because it's brought light to what's wrong here. You're in Ohio. If this wouldn't have happened to you and you hadn't brought light to it through Facebook and that, I didn't know how corrupt things were. And I'm just going to say they're corrupt. I think they're on their way to improving, but I still have some questions, honestly. And it's more in the, I'll just leave that to myself, honestly.
Well, I was also obviously I have a journalism background, and I was disappointed in local media. This is a big case. I would say unusual.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, by far.
Dave talked before about, the dollar amount. That's a lot of money. And the first media that covered it was Newsbreak. And then there was some YouTube podcast, and then the ABC affiliate in Portland and they continue to follow it and have done a few stories on it already. But you guys were really, you reached out to me, right, on Facebook, and I believe at one point the local the paper did reach out, but I mean, you were the one that was like, I really want to know what's going on. I think you just kind of started to see this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I think the local paper, that's why we didn't know originally why we set out to do this, but the local paper is not going to cover, nor they don't want to cover stuff like this, because if it's not in there, everything is fine.
Everything's okay.
There's nothing going on in here, nothing to see here. Meanwhile, what did you find? The 9%.
Oh, yeah.
How safe is your town or county?
There's
We
a
are
scale
9% safe. That means there's 91% places
in the U.S.
safer than what we have here.
And that's where
And nobody
that's a problem.
That's
a problem.
That's a big problem.
Yeah, there's a scale of 0 to 100, At 100
We should
PM.
find that for Compton. I really should.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Compton lately. Oakland, Stockton.
So when you
But-
call 911, what happens?
I don't.
Hmm.
I haven't
Yeah.
had to, and
No.
even if I did, I wouldn't admit to it. But I do have some property out of town and a backhoe.
You know what I'll say about what we talked about with the local media is that when you're a local reporter, you are only, I mean, sources are very important, right? And so, you know, you want story ideas, you want people to be willing to go and talk to you on the record. When you are in a small town environment like this, if you talk harsh towards a department or an individual or anything like this, they might not want to talk to you again, or you know, it just becomes this political game. So I understand there is some would be in theory hesitancy to go against maybe considered the establishment, right? And when you're outside, when you are in Portland or you are on the East Coast, you don't have to worry about those things. But that's not how it should be, though.
Right, and here we are, little podunk, podcast. And if I'm in the right, if we are in the right, I am not afraid to speak out because it's what's right. And challenge me. Yeah, I am always going to report what's right, and I'm not going to be stopped for that. And our local paper, just so you're aware, about a year and a half ago, the entire staff quit. And they're rebuilding, and that should tell you something right there. I'll just leave that at that. But yeah, the entire staff quit. So it is.
So
what it
I'm
is.
the type of person, both personally and professionally, that when I speak from my chest. You know, I'm human. I can be nervous at times, but it's the same theory that I had in the listen, in the very beginning, when this all happened, I had zero proof. Zero. I opened that email and I go, there's no way my mom would have done that. And then things continued to happen and things continued to happen. And then the case just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I felt like, my background is in journalism. So in a way I have, an idea of who to go to. But I was a day turner. I didn't do like investigative pieces. But I definitely went down this rabbit hole, and it was a lot.
Well, I've learned a lot. I'm zero journalism experience at all. We started this as a fun thing, and it's still intended to be. We want to promote local businesses and events and make people aware of the good things there are to do in Klamath County. However, not everything is all peaches and cream. There's an underlying issue in Klamath County that needs to be addressed, and you brought light to that. And the more I followed your story and dug in, and then people would get back to me via email and say, hey, this has happened to me, it kind of snowballed. And it made me realize that, we need to take some things. Lighthearted news is great.
Yeah.
There's enough bad news on the news every day to fill that void. But at the same time, I'll always cover the lighthearted stuff, but this is important because it affects everybody in Klamath County.
Well, I think you have the same. I went down another rabbit hole, but for me, I have always said, truth is on our side, and that is a very powerful weapon to have. It makes you confident in rooms that could be contentious. I've said a lot of things, but I'm also not dumb. I'm not going to say something that can't be proven. Right. That's not factual. I am still sometimes amazed with how many people in this county have stepped forward and helped me. They owe me nothing. I'm a woman across the country, but there are really, really good people in this county, and that's why there's never been any issues, right? I've said a lot of things about a lot of people, and they know I'm not lying. Let me look in that camera. You know I'm not lying.
right?
Well, and it doesn't matter how long. If you're telling the truth, it doesn't matter if it happened yesterday or 5 years ago or 20. You can recall and hey, this is what happened. You don't have
Right.
to. Oh no, that was no. Jimmy did that. It wasn't me. You know, you don't have to.
You don't have to struggle to
You don't have
recall
to
the
remember
truth.
what you said the first time. It's just like blah, and it's the same story, plus or minus of what it's always been.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've got a note here on the Facebook profile pic.
Oh, we were talking about
I'm
Christine's.
sorry, I'm not the best at segueing sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
follow our
Chris-
notes here.
Yeah, that was an interesting day. You know, it's so funny because you were talking about the fact that her Facebook profile picture is a picture of her and my mom, right?
I
And
think I called you the day I saw that.
yeah,
actually.
there's a caption that says like "I love you,
you,
mama" or something like that. And this was
Crap.
after the indict. Well, she wasn't gonna put her mugshot on, right?
Right.
So we have to give her that. But what I can tell you is, I think people interpreted that. Many people reached out to me about that, right? And I think people interpreted that as like an fu to me.
Yeah.
I truly didn't take it that way. In fact, to be completely honest, one of the biggest cases that I ever reported on, as a journalist, is a murder case in the state of Michigan. 48 Hours did a piece on it, and the husband is accused of killing his wife, and there's just mountains of evidence, right? But I remember being in court, day after day, and he would always wear his wedding ring. And it just caught my attention every time. I was just like, it felt
Off.
yeah. I mean, he's sitting there and then you hear all the evidence and he's wearing the wedding ring. And so when people told me that Christine Pereira put my mother's picture with her as her profile picture, I thought, that's her wedding ring moment.
Gotcha.
That's her wedding ring moment. It felt more of pity, feel sorry for me. I don't know how she's explaining, I've heard certain things, but I mean, you don't get indicted on these type of charges, and what we presume will come down the line later. I also thought what was interesting is, I've seen a lot of things, right, through the civil case, and I've never seen anything of her referring to my mom as mama. And when she would refer to her own mother, she would refer to her own mother as very frequently either Renee or Wombat. I didn't know what a wombat was. I had to Google it. But I mean,
Wombats are a lot cuter.
I don't know. But it just felt. And here's the interesting part of that picture is that picture was taken. So the fake will said that my mom signed it on October 21st of 2022. And that weekend, as you had known, you've reported this before, she was here in Klamath, my mom, to bring her car back.
Oh, right.
So she picked up the car in Washington, came down to Oregon to get some stuff that she wanted to have at my apartment, right? Because we were just sharing my Jeep. That weekend that she came to take some more stuff off the ranch and bring it, to my apartment and drive her car across country, they all went to lunch, dinner, something, and that's that picture. They took a picture that day, and so that just makes it a little bit more eerie. I don't take the bait though,
Right.
I really don't.
It was just a pathetic play at sympathy, trying to play on people's minds that might not know the truth or what's really going on. That's how I took it. Is, oh yeah, well, this is, I was this close to this lady when she really wasn't. So.
Well, the other thing you have to give her credit for is she talks, right? I mean, she was on the stand. She denied anything about the credit cards. She has clearly been caught in lies. She should have pled the fifth. I mean, I don't know what to say. She wants to talk, and so
Great. Let her.
Just keep making your own bed. Keep
Yep.
making your own bed.
Yep. Keep on going with it.
Well, at some point, on some people too, it's just a matter of boasting.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what I did? I stole this chick's credit card. And we went out and had a fucking weekend. Woo! And
It's a criminal returning to the scene of the crime kind of thing.
yes,
They just can't help it. They've got to have an outlet for what they've done some way, somehow.
right.
Well, she has to be telling someone something, right? I mean, she still lives here.
Yeah.
And well, she's not allowed to go to Walmart anymore because of the shoplifting charge. But I mean, she grocery shops here.
Probably not coastal either.
Or-
Happy.
so she still lives here, and you know, she has family here,
Yeah.
right? So I mean,
Lots of life.
I'm sure people
Wombat.
ask.
What's that?
Oh, the wombat. She still has wombat here.
Wombat, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, but they're going back and forth to California now and doing 4-H stuff because they were allowed to, thanks to
Is this fair season? I didn't know this was.
right.
Anyway.
You know, that was definitely part of the conversation I had. I mean, you guys you've reported on it even before my case, I think, about the issues with the jail. You know, there's the 3 pods and there's only one open, and they're like, it's the worst of the worst of the worst. And, you know, and I know, well, let me say this. I believe that the new administration and the BOC is truly trying to fix the situation with the jail, because it's not just, and I've said this before, it's not just about like accountability and people being, you know, locked up and losing their freedom. It is a strategic, you know, tactic that law enforcement and the district attorney's offices in any county can use, right? So we know that they were indicted, I think, October, November. And, you know, would things be different if they had to spend Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve and Christmas and New Year's Eve and birthdays or whatever behind bars, right? I mean, at some point you're going to be like, is this, maybe I actually don't like this shit and
Right.
I'm going to be a little bit more, or someone turns on, you know, it's a tactic that law enforcement and DAs can use, but not in Klamath County.
No. Well, and I keep hearing, I know there are some budget issues. However, and I've been told that the sheriff doesn't know what his budget's going to be until that fiscal year numbers are released. So I've done some research and I've dug into that. And give or take a couple $1,000s, I'm not talking tens, I'm talking a few $1,000s. It's a budget that you can work with. You know, historically, this is what you're going to have within a few $1,000s. It's not like I can't afford to hire this deputy or half my staff might get laid off. No, your budget is consistent. It's just variables at the end. But $1,000, I mean, come on, what's that? That's office supplies for a couple months, maybe. It's not a significant amount of a variance to justify, well, I can't hire anybody because I don't know what my budget's going to be. You know what your budget's going to be.
In my personal opinion, I think there was a culture work problem.
Oh, absolutely.
There was a culture problem. There are some very good people that work at the sheriff's department or had worked at the sheriff's department, and there clearly was a work culture issue.
Yep. Which just got voted out of office last November. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I know people, not going too into depth, but I know people in the sheriff's department. And I know that was an issue. I questioned them. They're not even supposed to voice an opinion, which is why I'm not going to say who it is or whoever it was that I talked to. But to a person, they were like, get rid of Gaber. We don't want him in an office. And they gave me suggestions on who. And fortunately, that person won. So, but yeah, people didn't want to work for that guy. Period. Well, the ones I talked to, I can't say that across the board. The ones that I know that I've talked to, they didn't want to work for him. You know, some left the department over him. So
Definitely. And there's been, I mean, again, we just know about the lawsuit and plenty of complaints, and boy, did I not know what I was getting myself into when this all
Well, I
popped
could say the
off.
same when I reached out to you.
That's so true. Actually, well, let's cheers to that.
I had
It's
no
been
idea
a
what the
hell
hell
of
I
a
was getting into,
ride.
but here we are. So,
You haven't actually. Were you denied access to the?
to the court,
Sorry,
I did.
it's
You
not
know,
funny.
I did. I was told that there would be no media allowed at the Pereira hearing. And so I was turned away, although they did let ABC News in, which, granted, their credentials are bigger than mine, but I've now found a place on the internet where I can print them out, and we'll see. But yeah, no, I was told that no media was going to be allowed in the courtroom for that hearing, and then yeah, they did allow alternate media in there. So
Yeah. You know, I did appreciate, so Judge Janney was overseeing the arraignments. And I mean, she obviously let them be booked and released, right? So that
right,
is not something that I had wanted. But I really appreciated that she allowed me to speak. I worked with, I think it was her staff or a fill-in to have me there remote. They were really great with me. Her staff that day or a couple days, and that meant a lot. So she had clearly approved. I think it was ABC Portland was there, and as a journalist, obviously that's important because it's just transparency, right? Now we can all get audio. I have
found
so
it.
many receipts.
Yep.
The $10 every time. I think it's 10. But it's after the fact, right?
Right.
And so I feel like there's more of an air of transparency in this county. But also, listen, I feel a lot better with the meetings that I had. But the truth is, we have been treated pretty shitty,
Yeah.
and by very powerful positions, and people close to powerful positions, and they should be embarrassed. That's
Yeah,
what they should
absolutely.
be.
Absolutely. And I like to think that we're on the right track to some degree on fixing it, but there's a long ways to go. And there's a lot of, I've got stories that I'm not going to let go of that we're just at the tip of the iceberg ourselves here on where we're going to go with this.
Not to digress, but that auction stuff was like it just took it to another level to me.
Yeah.
It took it to
Just
another
direct
level.
slap in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
It's-
mean, the just within the person, just the morality of like, what do you listen? We got to be careful of the lies that we tell ourselves, right? Like, I was there, I was shaking, I had tears in my eyes. It was there's several images in the last 2 years that I won't forget. I will not forget seeing him close that unit. I won't.
Just heartless. Really. I mean, that's just a heartless act right there. To not even consider your offer or to, hey, let's work something out, to just be like, tough shit, it's mine, and close the door. Um, I hope
Or
he,
when the deputy looked me in the eyes and said, "That's his property."
yeah, well,
Like complete just callousness, coldness, not from the undersheriff,
right.
not from the new sheriff, but there are definitely people there that feel a type of way or heard things and want to be in the cool kids club, and
Well, and we talked about this prior to recording. I know personally who that deputy is, who will remain nameless for now on the show, but it bothers me because my perception of that person, of who they are, or I thought they were, and who they are, apparently are two different things. And that it's a small town. We're going to know people. We're going to cross paths with people.
oh, I'm
I'm just
naming
really
I'm naming
disappointed.
names. It just there's a time and a place for it.
Yeah.
And by the way, everyone knows that, right? I mean,
Yeah, and I have always done my best to leave that as your prerogative. I try not to overstep. She shared a lot.
behind the scenes.
I try to share as much as I feel safe in sharing, but I don't want to disrespect or disrupt or cause any issues for the case by something that I might say. So I always try to err on the side of caution when doing that. However, when you drop a name, I'll be right there with you.
Yeah.
And you know who you are,
Oh, they know.
and you know me.
Oh, they know.
So
They know exactly there. And I have thought about that too. I mean, even when I got the emails, it wasn't just Mariah Kaber's
Right.
emails, right?
Right.
So I know people are nervous, and they should be. They should be.
Good. Be honest. Be trustworthy.
And that took a lot for a new administration to say, we want to be transparent. That speak to just that alone, approving the release of some emails just shows they want to be accountable. They want to be transparent, and they're not going to be a repeat. And that was my nervousness about it. So.
Well, and this is just one case. If you walk in there as a new guy, you either sweep more stuff under the rug or you say, I can't do this.
I can't imagine.
Here it is. And
what you want.
and for the amount of people.
Wait, who?
Mitchell. If you walk
not
in
just
there,
my case. Yeah.
Well, right, yeah.
The
If
shit show that he's got to deal with.
right, yeah. If you walk
I try to
in
keep
there,
this a clean show, but yeah, that's not right.
well, that's what I said earlier. If you tell the truth from day one, you have one story to tell.
Right.
So as he walks in here and looks at her case and goes, "Oh shit," and then looks at this case. Here it is. Do what you. I can't. That's the right call. I mean, you can't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh.
There's a lot of fires that the new administration is trying to.
Yeah. So, now you've been to Klamath County. How do you like it?
Well, I've been here a few times, when my grandma and my mom obviously were at the ranch, and I could tell you that drive to Medford was no joke. From Medford to here in the past. Oh yeah, I'm too city. I was like, I'm gonna crash. There's ice. Obviously it's been great to be on the ranch and just kind of going through things, and I have to. It's very hard because I've been so invested, and I just blew up the life that I had before this for justice for my family. But I'm hoping that I can start to find a little bit of normalcy and somewhat of closure. It's kind of like what I said about just salvaging the tip of the iceberg at this point. And, one thing, Mike, that I don't even think I've talked about it, frankly, or if so, very little, is the civil side of my mother's case. And I can't right now for many reasons. Don't want to piss off the lawyers, my lawyers. But what I can say is the civil side of if you think this criminal case is crazy, when you hear about how the civil side of this shit went down, it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. And that happened right here in Klamath County. So I've just been the criminal, the civil, the back and forth. It's been a lot.
Well, I don't know what your future plans are. You need to take all this to account, write it down, tape it. You need to sell it to somebody because you cannot make this stuff up. And the continual...
I do believe there's a book in the works.
There is a book in the works. There is a book in the works.
It needs to be written. So, yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Well, there's multiple reasons why. But I think kind of like how you guys had said, some people might not have the knowledge or the resources to know what to do in this situation. There's so many lessons to have been learned, both what I learned civilly, what I learned criminally, but also, I mean, we have to make sure our documents are in order. We have to be careful who we allow in our lives in a close setting. And we have to be able to hold public officials and law enforcement accountable. And I literally have a list, an actual list of people who I'm like, yeah, you're, whether it's reporting them to the bar or going to DOJ or having a third party come in and investigate. I mean, there needs to be accountability here.
Yes.
Because the truth is my grandma and my mom picked Klamath County for a reason, right? And obviously I had my own life across the country, but I feel like I have a better idea. I've gotten to speak and be in rooms with people that are in charge of this county and have an idea of how it's run and the history, and the people here have been really great, and there's a lot.
All right. No, the community here seems to be very invested in what you
They are.
have going on. And again, I
The
can't-
state of Oregon is. I mean,
Yeah.
my number one is in Oregon. Before it was kind of my area, and my number one clicks and views are now people here.
Yeah. And I've had, because of your story, I've had people reach out to me and with their own that we are going to be pursuing down the road.
Yeah.
And we'll see where it goes. But
I would say at least, at minimum, once a week. I receive several, right, private messages, comments, all of that. But a lot of them is we've gone through too.
yeah,
And that's sad to hear.
it is. And it needs to change. And I mean, we're a little small town show, but I'm going to do everything I can to help begin that change.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What's the feedback you've gotten? Have people talked to you about covering this case?
Oh yeah, no, and it's been everybody from people that knew your mom,
Mm-hmm.
and dealt with her with horses and wrench things.
Yeah.
To people that have had similar, not to the same extent. For example, there's a person who, a couple moved here in October last year. Had their truck parked in their driveway. The truck got T-boned by a kid in their driveway, shoved it 8 feet across the driveway, totaled their truck, and the kid ran. And they found the car, figured out it was his mom's. And long story short, there was no police report provided to the victims. There was no phone calls returned to the victims.
Does that sound familiar?
Right? That does
Sorry.
sound familiar.
I'm sorry.
So
They didn't get a call back?
nobody got a call back. Yeah. I mean, that's just one example that they were out their deductible, even though they knew who did it.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't provided that information. They weren't provided a police report. And so they were out the deductible. They were out $41,000 for a vehicle because nobody would give them the information. Nobody would return their calls. And there's more. There are more. That's just the one that's at the top of my head because it just struck me the minute I read it. I'm like, wow, smaller scale, same thing that happened to Kristy. But they relocated here. They're brand new in the town. And her exact words were, I feel like nobody cares. Because they don't. That's why you feel that way. Because they don't. Now, that was last year. Maybe things have changed. Maybe people are starting to care. They need to. But the reality is, it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient to pursue these things.
Work is hard.
Work is hard. Yeah.
Do your job.
No, I like I said, I've thought about that too. When it comes to my mom's case, it's a lot of calls, a lot of paperwork, a lot of so far, just on the case so far, and I know that there's obviously more stuff coming. There's the initial report, and I believe 17 supplementals.
Wow.
That's the type of that kind of breadth is in a homicide.
Right.
This is a lot of paperwork, and we know some people don't like to do that. But I'm proud of the work that I personally did.
You should.
It was a lot. And, you know, I've said this publicly and I've said this privately. I was like, here you go. Just do
Done all your work for you. All you got to
do your job. Do your job.
Right.
You know,
Right.
here it is.
No, I again, I admire your perseverance. Not a lot of people would have had the wherewithal to stick it out. Not even the financial part, just the emotional toll this has to take on you. Kudos to you, because
That's why that Ryan Caber email that I posted was fucking disgusting. Because he said, thank you, and then something like,
cried all
I
night
bet
over
she
this
was
one."
fuming all night.
Yeah.
Think about that. That is the supervisor of the detective that is overseeing your case, and he's the one, not the detective, he's the one that talked to DOJ. He's
Right.
the one that talked to OSP. That is how he talks about, that is how you talk about a crime victim. I bet she was fuming all night. Because you know why that's disgusting? Is because there are nights where I don't sleep. There are days that I don't get any sleep. I don't eat well. Like this case has affected me so much.
It's consuming.
It's consuming, and the consuming part weren't the bottom feeder women. The consuming part was KCSO, and then everything else that followed that. So the idea that he's over there making snide marks and being just so fucking gross. She was fuming all night. How did you feel good about that after you wrote that and press send?
Right.
The person he sent it to didn't respond because he's not dumb. But yeah.
Well, and that's got to just be the tip of the iceberg off of what you've gotten from your requests for those emails.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll delve into that another time.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've said this before. This is if there's one thing about Davis Scott is he's very consistent. Like he's consistent. He's had reporters reach out to him, right, from several different media outlets. He's never talked to one, to at least my knowledge. He's definitely never made a public statement.
Right.
I find it pretty telling that Chris Caber would make a statement about me and the case, and yet never spoke to me. And when you review his statement, it's pretty embarrassing to me for the department. Again. But you know, and honestly, I have had to ask myself, not just with them, but other people, like, where does this type of behavior and treatment come from? It's arrogance. When you're a sheriff, you don't really have a boss. The people are the boss.
Well, he made that clear to you, right? He reports to no one.
He made that clear to the BOC.
Yeah, he reports to nobody.
He made that clear to. I mean, yes, he's the.
You're right. You don't report to anyone because you don't have your job anymore.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I will be. I've started here and there, writing a book, and I've been doing very well and my documenting of things, and I know how it started. I know a bit of the middle. I don't know the ending yet. Right. And relationships, they kind of flow, right? Everything kind of, we'll see where it all ends out. I really have to say, because it meant so much to me, I've said some very heavy things about Davis Scott and people that worked in his office. For him to sit down with me face to face for 3 hours, I just appreciated it.
Right. That conversation that we had today about that, well, including this, during this, has changed my opinion. So the fact that he actually, and that's sometimes all it takes is just that personal connection.
Yeah.
You know, the interaction. But granted, for you, that's hard when you live in Ohio. It's not like you can just buzz over to Klamath Falls and be like, "Hey, what's going on?" You know.
I said that to the victim's advocate because the first couple days, I was in his office He didn't come in. There was no hello, not even an anything. This is the man prosecuting my case, right?
Right.
And I was like, I took 2 planes, 2 car rides. I am in the office.
Right.
And, I knew that he wasn't planning on having a meeting with me, but he did. And I think that was the right choice. And, another positive thing, and I have said positive things in the past, right? Another positive thing that I could say is when he spoke at the arraignment of these 2 women, he acknowledged that, these crimes were on the back of my mother's death and my family's grief. And as I've always said to you, February 9th just gets lost in all this.
Right.
Like, you've talked about it more than others about what happened in my living room that morning. And when that happened, it never stopped.
Right.
And
that's where I'm sympathetic. I'm not that far detached from losing a parent. And that alone is hard enough. But then I couldn't imagine having to go through, you haven't had a chance to heal yet because you've been so focused on trying to make
my family would say the same thing. They would say the same.
And
they'd be like, no.
But so
you're talking about from that morning?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And both of mine were expected. Yours was not expected. It was completely, caught you off guard. And I can't imagine how devastating that alone is. Not to mention, within days of that happening, this whole battle started. It hasn't ended yet.
Within 24 hours, yeah. Technically the same day, but yeah.
Yeah. And you have not.
And I didn't bury her for a year. Isn't that disgusting?
Yeah.
That I think, we have all joked about the movie, right? I think we're beyond a movie at this point. This is like a docu-series with multiple, there's just too many characters. But when you think about the faking of the will and the forging of things and the financial crimes and the stealing of the property, I mean, these are women who would say in court, right? This is my life partner. She was basically like my mom. And knowing that they were living under a Kathy Gerlett roof, eating off of a Kathy Gerlett table, sleeping in a Kathy Gerlett bed set. And they did this?
Right. It's not like your mom wasn't gracious enough while she was here.
Right?
And then to take full advantage of that situation after she passed is just disgusting.
Yeah. But still, I will stand by it. The worst part of this was absolutely the Klamath County Sheriff's Office. I will stand by that. There have been equally, maybe a little less issues with certain things, but I can admit I was a little bit petty. I did ask a certain somebody at the sheriff's office if he had a salt shaker to put salt in victims' wounds, or if he went down to the DA's office and used, and that wasn't even a long time ago. That was like 15 days or something ago. I was feeling, but
the way you've been treated, you have a right. You're justified.
It felt like that, man.
Yes.
It felt like
you've been treated like a perpetrator and not a victim, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
It pisses me off. As somebody that lives here, and all of you that live here, that should really not just concern you, but piss you off. That, unless you have deep resources as a victim of a crime, you're pretty much out of luck, because hopefully things have changed. But up until December or January, they didn't give a shit. They didn't care about you. It's whatever is convenient.
Yeah, and no one from the former because the lieutenant's still a lieutenant, the detective sergeant's still the current detective. They're all still there.
Right.
The only 2 new guys is the sheriff and the undersheriff. They're the same kind of group of people. Do you think that they've picked up the phone and called me? Do you think I've ever heard any form of an apology, let alone ownership, coupled with what's in the emails?
Right. Well, cautiously optimistic things are taking a turn. I think your visit here was probably will bring some things to fruition. It's probably a pretty positive thing from what you've shared. And if I'm wrong,
I don't know, the storage
I'm
unit
wrong.
is like right in there,
Right,
you know?
right. Well, and again,
the
it
storage
goes-
unit. Come on.
To me, that throws back that one deputy to that prior mentality.
100%.
And
100%.
I am still optimistic that Sheriff Mitchell, you kind of adapt to the environment that you exist in. And so if the prior administration was, who cares? Sooner or later,
Actually, I'm
gonna
sorry.
go
I
with
don't
that.
agree with that. I don't think it was who cares. I think it was a fuck her.
okay. But that being, okay, so even that though being said, if the new leadership does not have that attitude, and it sounds like potentially that's not going to be the case, that they are somewhat sympathetic to your situation, then hopefully that will breed a sense of responsibility throughout the department, that it will change some people's ways. Because, like I said, I know who that person is, and I would like to think better of them, but I can't right now.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the detective or the deputy?
The deputy. Yeah.
You know what's interesting is obviously I filed a formal complaint with the county, right? There are two deputies that were involved in my mom's case that I didn't name. I've never complained. One of them was the initial deputy that took my call. I feel like he might have still been in training. Very professional, very kind, very understanding. He actually, I think, won a kind of prestigious award last year, and I've never said he was great to work with, but he was very new and kind of low on the totem pole.
Right.
There was another deputy, and frankly, I've had some tough, moments, but this one deputy, a female deputy, she was the one dealing with my brother's stolen horse trailer, and I was pissed that day. I was, it just felt like another violation, and I'm across the country, and it just feels like people taken again after everything that I have already had, that has been taken and stolen, and how I've been treated. I had never talked to her before that incident, but she definitely, frankly, if there's anyone that I owe an apology to, it would be her. She was very still professional with me, and I think she knew that she was kind of getting heat from a situation that she didn't cause, and she was just the person that took the call. But she was really great, and I'm a human, and I have human moments, but I won't forget her professionalism that day.
Good.
Yeah. It's funny, Dave, when people watch these stuff, they're always like, so who's the other guy? He doesn't talk a lot about it.
I don't. I think my mom taught me, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say nothing. And it really rubs a hard spot. I mean, there's multi-layers. It's concerning for you, and good for you that you knew how to approach this, because a lot of people wouldn't. But it's the fact that we live here. And like we're talking about, this, that, and the 9% thing. It's just that there's a lot of stuff, and it's concerning.
So Dave's from here. Well, more or less.
So you really have the tea then, right? So you could give me some.
I don't. Okay, so
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so
There's more to that, but
Oh, there was more? Oh,
yeah.
what's more?
Then he transferred. He got a new job, and he moved to Texas for 7 years,
yeah,
and just came back 3 years ago.
yeah.
What part of Texas?
Beaumont area.
I worked in Amarillo. So he just recently came back.
Yeah, and now he's having second thoughts about coming
Yeah,
back.
so
I'm like, it's all your fault.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Damn, what did I move back to?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you truly, before this, my mom's case, you didn't know kind of the gravity of,
Not to the extent that it is. No, no,
like,
no.
the people in charge or the public opinion about the people in charge?
No, the people in charge.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's real easy for the general public to have a bad impression of authority in general, just because people seem to have an issue with authority. If properly utilized or placed, law enforcement's a great thing. We need that. We need good law enforcement. But when they pick and choose and play favorites and look out for each other and not the greater good of the people that they are there to serve and protect, yeah, then it's a whole different ballgame. And this has brought that to light in my mind. That, and again, we have a new administration. I'm trying my very, very best to stay open minded about where things are going to go. And talking with you today has kind of helped encourage me some.
Yeah.
Prior to that, though, no, it was just a sense of despair.
Despair.
Well, I mean, and I've shared some of the stories that are known around Klamath County about the Caber family. And again, I'm not going to go on the record on this show talking about that, but they're not favorable opinions by the vast majority of the people in the county. And that being said, I didn't realize to the extent that they would go to look out for each other.
Oh, it was very much, if you don't kiss the ring.
Right, right. Because he answers to nobody. Nobody.
And he will let you know that, right?
Yep.
He will let you know that. That's why that when I say kiss the ring, like I mean.
Oh yeah, yeah, the old Godfather thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I didn't realize that. When if you're not directly involved in something like that, you don't really see it.
Right.
Unfortunately, I haven't needed their services, so I haven't had any issues.
Something I learned too, if you're not directly involved, is the power. I mean, we all know judges are powerful, but like the true power, and they're human beings. And I've said this many times. I still believe it. This visit didn't change. I don't think that justice is blind. I think
Right.
judges are human beings. I think they hear things. I think, we would hope that they don't bring stuff like that in a courtroom. But when it's dealing with people that they're making rulings on, or a victim or things like that, but they're humans too. And yeah.
I could go down a deep rabbit hole off of that. With
Oh, really?
Some of the folks that are
For
involved.
judges? Okay.
Well, not judges, but judges and or attorneys. And I'm just
I know
going to
what
leave
you're talking about.
exactly,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to let that be. But they're still looking out for each other.
Good old boys club.
Right. That's got to end. Got to end. It does not work. It does not serve justice to the general public when you have attorneys and judges that are looking out for each other's best interest. And that's still going on. This whole thing that's going on with our federal government, USAID and all that, reminds me we're like a microcosm of the bigger picture of what's going on right now. And things just need to get fixed in here. And I think we've taken a few small steps in that direction. But until the ultimate authority in the county, which is the court, is held accountable, it's not going to change.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, when I think of the most powerful people involved in my mom's case, both civilly and criminally, it would be the judges, right? I mean, they can physically take away your freedom, right?
Right.
And they can also financially kill you.
Yeah.
And this case has been public and will continue to be public, and everyone knows in this county that has touched it in some way, that people are looking. And Yeah, yeah. I remember that incident because with the court. Remember when Eve Costello told the judge that Christine had no criminal history.
Right. Oops, kind of forgot to overlook a couple of those theft charges and 10 days of jail time, but yeah. Yep. Yeah. Maybe I should or shouldn't have said that, but it is what it is. I mean, it's a fact. So,
Oh yeah, as I've said before, I mean, to me, she just didn't know the facts of the case, and she wasn't prepared for the hearing, and neither was the deputy DA that was there that day. I do believe that if David Scott was there, that would not have happened. David Scott knows this case backwards and forwards.
yeah. Good.
So, but how that was handled, obviously, I disagreed with it, and we're just going to move on.
And on that note,
Look how far are we? Can we be
right?
proud?
Well, you better control yourself.
Four
But,
sips, adding the water.
No, it's been great having you on the show. I know the folks that watch the show follow this closely, and there's a lot of sympathy and a lot of concerned folks here, but a lot of folks that are really connected to you and what you've been going through.
Yeah, I would say the vast majority of stuff online and even with other media outlets has always been really positive. There's a couple, few haters, as there should be, and I could care less about them. But, I mean, there's people who have ties to, certain individuals in this case. And, again, this has kind of brought negative attention, but I don't pay attention. There's a good saying: post and ghost, post and ghost, and
Right.
and leave it up. And you know me enough well to I'm not afraid of uncomfortable conversations.
Right.
And
Well, I think certain other folks though need to be aware that the court of public opinion is pretty powerful.
yeah, absolutely.
And that public opinion is growing in a certain direction, and
It
it's
has.
going to take action on the professional side to change that opinion.
That's a great point, right? I mean, I think the reason that I have so much public support isn't again necessarily because of me personally or my mom, and our family personally. It's because other people have also dealt with the crappy system here in Klamath County. And the only way that public opinion can start to change is by those in authority also shifting their behavior. So, for example, the emails or, DA Scott sitting with me for all of that. He didn't have to do that. And I didn't know what I was walking into, right? We're not talking on the phone. The emails are horrible. Like, I didn't know what I was walking into. And obviously now there's the new BOC that is established. So it's only been 2 months and I'm seeing the changes.
Good.
To be continued on the storage unit.
Right. Well, I mean, and unless you have more currently, Kristy, I think we'll wrap up. But I mean, this is a forum for you as well. So if there's
No, I
anything
think
that you'd
we're
like
good.
to say before we finish.
No, I'm very thankful for all the coverage you've done, and I feel like you and I have talked maybe once a week, and hopefully next hearing they'll give you permission and you can
Air it all
attend.
out.
And you can attend the hearing in person. I remember you were like, so they let ABC Portland and they didn't let me.
How did ABC News get precedence over me? Come on. I mean, I would have been okay if they would have just told me we've already given it to ABC. We're not going to let you in.
Right.
But just to be told that no media is being let in, it's like, all right.
Yeah.
And then to find that out, but whatever. I get it. We're not big city news or nothing like that. But heck, even the White House now has a special chair for podcasters, so who knows?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they're letting.
How many times did you reach out to the former administration? Because
Three. 3.
Par for the course.
Yeah.
0 for 3.
Yeah. Oh, well, let somebody
what did they say?
Let somebody give you a call for a statement. Yep.
Yeah, I don't.
Still waiting for that call.
I don't know what the Mitchell administration's stance is going to be on the case, but I have a feeling they are going to do what David Scott did, and this is an ongoing investigation. We can't comment,
Right.
which is not what Chris Caber did.
Even that though, I would respect just the
response.
If you tell somebody
Yeah.
they're going to get a call back, give them a call back. That's all. That's all. I'm trying. I was doing my very best. I heard your side of the story. I was doing my very best to try to, if there is a other side of the story, point, counterpoint, however you want to look at it, to be fair to both sides. I couldn't get 2 sides of the story. So that's not on me.
Well, that's because they know that truth is not on their side.
Right.
So there was definitely I would say it was the summer of 24 where I felt everyone was in CYA mode, right?
Yeah.
And they know my background. They again know the media attention around this, and they know I'm most likely know that I'm going to be writing a book about it. So
That probably scared them more than anything.
they should be scared.
Yeah.
You guys will be in it.
Awesome. I'm going to be in a book.
Can I use your names?
Yes. Sure. I don't care. Yeah.
Quote you guys on the YouTubes. Yeah.
Well, on that note, then, I just want to thank you so much for being on the program. I still, personally, face to face, I want to extend my condolences on your loss, because that's, again, the part that everybody forgets, because there's so much that's gone on since then. It hurts to lose a parent. I get that part, and I am so sorry. And I am even more sorry that you're having to go through all of this. Well, you haven't even really had a chance to address that. So, sincerely, I'm sorry. And appreciate your input and giving us the exclusive, if you will, for Klamath County anyway, on what's going on. And nothing but respect for your strength and your perseverance in seeing this through. And I wish for a great, satisfying outcome.
I think that was the cruelest part of this whole situation when it comes to the women, is I had just literally watched my mom die, and within months this fake will comes in under the auspice of Kathy Gerlett didn't love her children, right? And she definitely didn't love her daughter because she disinherited her. And I have that voicemail, which I think I played for you, that Christine Pereira left on my phone back in 23. And she had said similar things. Your mom wanted nothing to do with you. That's why she disinherited you. And that's just the cruelty of it, right? Is these crimes were being committed under this narrative of Kathy Gerlett didn't have a good relationship.
What kind of despicable person does that to somebody that just lost a parent?
Yeah. Well, when you call your own mom Wombat, the bar is going to be pretty low. So, And here's the thing. I've never portrayed that my mom, my family, that we were this great, Brady Bunch, and it's not true. We have had issues, as every family does, right? But love and loyalty is there.
Blood is blood.
Blood is blood. Yeah, blood is blood. And I said that actually in one of my meetings, is that I think that KCSO definitely never even asked nor cared, but I never looked at this case and just thought it was about just like my mom or even me or my nephew or anything like this. It felt so much bigger than that, right? Because we know that the money that was used to purchase the ranch here in Klamath was from the proceeds of my great-grandparents' house. And then it was passed down to my mom, and she wanted it passed down to us.
It's a family legacy.
It's a family legacy. It's like an entire, generational wealth bloodline just being wiped out. And it wasn't like any of my relatives were born with a silver platter. Like, they worked their ass off for what they had. And these women, they're just, I really don't know how they show their face in this town.
Yeah.
I will say the same thing about that storage unit owner if he doesn't do the right thing.
Oh, he small town famous, trust me.
Just
Not in a
as
good
vile.
way, but small town
Just
famous,
as
trust
vile.
me. Oh, it's despicable. Yeah, yeah.
Well, hopefully, I'll see you. Hopefully, new charges come and I can see you in court and
Yeah.
have that transparency.
But in the meantime, it's been great to actually meet you in person because literally
I know.
2-3 times a week we have phone conversations. I think my wife might have been like, "Really? Is it just the story you're covering?"
I feel like a couple people could say that too.
But, no, it's really great to meet you in person.
Yeah.
And we will continue to cover this, and like I said, we want to see it through with you, and not sure what the best outcome at this point can be, but I hope for the best for you and your family, whatever that outcome is.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks. We should cheers to that.
I will cheers to that. But you know me, I'll cheers to anything.
Yeah,
Enjoy your orange Coke.
yeah.
Folks, if you stuck with us this long, thank you very much. I truly believe this is something that affects all of us here in Klamath County and beyond. And we need to just pay attention to what's going on with our elected officials, where things are going. We'll continue to keep you updated. And please keep Kristy in your thoughts and her family. And we're gonna see this through with her. And on that note, Dave, you got anything else?
No.
No?
Thank you. Thanks for.
Do you guys end with like any music?
It's all edited.
Yeah, I could throw some in there.
Some round of applause.
Oh, I can do. All right. Well. Thank you, Kristy, Dave, everybody. Thank you for being a part of the show.